Call to order the Greater Cities Property Development Corporation, their regular meeting of April 21st. Roll call, we have 3 members of the board here. Proof of notice has been posted. An executive summary and financial statements. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
Financial statements through the end of February are attached. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. And everything else is just covering new business.
I'll ask a motion to accept the executive summary and financial statements.
Motion?
Motion second.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The authorized sales of multiple properties.
All right, these start
So just as a quick reminder, to sell property, you have to have a unanimous vote here.
Oh, okay.
Unanimous vote of this
You'd
year.
have
It has to be the majority of the full board, even though 3 is a quorum.
Exactly.
All right, starting with 211 Kensington Place. This is a single-family home. The buyer is a flipper who will resell it to an owner-occupant. 1120 Cannon is another vacant single-family home. This is a father-daughter pair buying. She will initially live there, and he's planning on eventually moving in. Let me just make a note here. Oceana arriving. He's a contractor and is going to be doing most of the work. 244 Garfield is a vacant 2-family house. We have 2 purchase offers, both landlords. One is local, one is out of town, and it just so happens that the local applicant is the highest bidder, so we're recommending sale to them. 324 East Seneca Turnpike. This is the 3rd time, I think, that this has come to you. We've had a handful of sales fall through on this. We actually had sold this years ago to a buyer who got about halfway through doing the renovations and then disappeared. Didn't respond when we made our motion to foreclose on the property, so it was uncontested and we took it back. We have 2 applicants. One is a flipper and one would plan to live there. Her offer is $49,000 and his is $54,000. Nevertheless, we are recommending sale to Monique Love because she will own or occupy. 3001 Burnett Ave. We have 2 offers. We're recommending sale to Paris Adair, even though he is not the highest bidder because he is a public employee and we show preference for public employees. So those are 2 cases where we're recommending sale to someone other than the highest bidder. And then 1337 Burnett Street. This was previously on your agenda and you voted to sell the entire parcel to Syracuse Quality Living, who owns 1339 Burnett Street because of that.
Butternut Street.
Sorry, Butternut Street. Because at that time, the owner of 1335 was not interested. We got the survey back and then found that the driveway for 1335 is entirely on our lot at 1337, and 1335 has since changed ownership, and the new owner is interested in keeping their driveway. And Syracuse Quality Living was willing to revise the contract that they were in, so we're now coming back to you to split this lot between the 2 of them. And 108 Elmhurst is a non-conforming vacant lot, only 33 feet wide. The owner-occupant next door would like to purchase it. You'll see in the diagram there that there is a large lot next to it, but that lot is owned by the owner of 114. So it's tax current and there's no chance that we'll ever pick it up to make 108 buildable. So we're recommending sale to the owner-occupant next door.
Can I ask, what's the story with 137 Randall?
Well, it is vacant land,
Yeah.
but I don't know anything other than that.
Because I was just wondering.
Should they take the back portion?
Right.
From the looks of it, it looks like it's too narrow to build on anyway. We'll probably have to combine it with 135 if we can pick those 2 up.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering what's happening a little bit further, like development-wise.
We have a few other infill sites on Randall, and we would be looking to assemble more if and when we can. This is in the footprint for the Syracuse Housing Strategies Corporation. I always screw up that name. The Housing Trust Fund. They are planning to do this neighborhood in their 2nd wave, so we are trying to assemble as many building lots over here as we can. The Elmwood neighborhood. And then 2619 Midland is technically buildable, but it's on a busy street and next to a pretty notoriously problematic mini mart. This owner occupant has been maintaining the lot and he would like to own it just to give him a little bit more defensible space between him and the mini mart.
Just got a question. Maybe I misheard a while back, but didn't the cost of all the transactions with the vacant lots go up?
So it depends on which title company is doing the work.
Okay.
So
But we adjust based on whatever company's doing it though?
we haven't been. We've been keeping our price for owner occupants at 151, even though for some of them we are paying 326 to acquire them, just because we need to keep it just like a nominal price for owner occupants. But we're losing money on them either way. So
I was gonna say, because that's been the same price for 10,
forever.
Yeah.
10, 12, 15 years now, right?
I think we should consider whether or not to increase the price, but do keep in mind that in addition to the purchase price, they're usually paying another $750 for the survey. So it's not an insignificant cost for them to pick up the lot next door.
I would say if it's $100,000 to pick up the vacant lot, it's insignificant.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I'm wrong, it is land. It does have a value to it.
So
So should we consider it in the future?
yeah, with
Maybe give a proposal.
Yeah, I just didn't know because I just
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
yeah, we haven't changed the policy in a long time, so we'll come back to you next month with more information on that and look at maybe changing it.
And on the Elmhurst Avenue thing, so we're confident that they want to impact the housing strategies.
No, because we can't do anything with that lot. It's only 33 feet
Okay.
wide. If anything, it'll be consistent with their strategy for stabilizing the neighborhood because it's benefiting an owner occupant.
Okay. That's right, you sit on the board too. You sit on so many boards.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing. Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to authorize the sale of multiple properties.
So moved.
Michael, second? Second, Oceana, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. And then procurement policy.
I want to point out a typo here on page 4. In the first line there, those should be less than symbols. So anything less than 3,000 right now, we don't have to get multiple quotes, and we're proposing to increase that to anything less than 5,000. Right now, anything between 3 and 5, we have to get 3 quotes, either oral or written, and we don't necessarily have to come to the board unless we're opting to go with someone other than the lowest bidder. And we're proposing to increase that from 5 to 10. And then right now, anything over 5, we have to get 3 quotes, and it does require board approval, and we're proposing to increase that to 10,000. We haven't increased these thresholds, I don't think, since we first adopted this policy. So we're looking to keep up with inflation, and we're having a hard time getting contractors to even come bid these small jobs. So.
Any questions? Okay. Hearing none, no questions, I'd like the motion to amend the procurement policy.
So
Jonathan, second. Michael, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Procure flooring at 139 Maxwell Avenue.
We talked about this a little bit last month, that Champion at the factory did not fill in all the knots in the plywood subfloor. So as you're walking over the linoleums, particularly if you're barefoot, you can feel that there are some low spots, and that will eventually cause the linoleum to wear unevenly. And so I called them up to talk about the fact that it's under warranty. They would be obligated to come out and repair it. But this homeowner doesn't like the linoleum anyway. She was wanting to upgrade to LVT. And I said to him, you know, I'm certain that we will find more of these. So you might be coming back multiple times to do these repairs. And that, you know, linoleum's pretty thin and very pliable. So that's why you can feel it. LVT is luxury vinyl tile. It's thicker and more rigid, so it can span those distances and it won't damage the material. So it'll be more durable. And I told the factory that I'd like to upgrade it, but I'd like you to credit us for the fact that you're not going to have to come out and do these repairs. So they sent us a check for $1,000. We got a quote from National Flooring for roughly $5,200 to redo all the linoleum in the house and replace it with LVT. The bedrooms will still remain wall-to-wall carpet, but everything else will be LVT. And it's good because she's only recently moved in and there's not a whole lot of furniture in the house yet, so it's a good time to do this. And we're proposing to cover the cost ourselves. This was an unusual case. With the cross mods going forward, we're going to earn probably about $16,000 to $18,000 per house in developer's fee, and that's it. So we've got a pretty tight margin. Because this was the pilot house, we pocketed all of the proceeds from that sale, so we have enough to cover this added cost. And it's been a good learning experience, one of many things that we've learned from 139 Maxwell. So for the next 52 that we're going to get started on, we're calling for LBT in all of them so that this won't be an issue.
And that'll be part of the production people who pay for that.
Yes.
Whoever we hire.
Exactly.
Because we're contemplating how many different people?
Two
folks?
different manufacturers,
Two
yeah.
different, okay.
And not only will it be more durable, but because of the linoleum comes in a sheet and the sheets are only so wide and the house is 26 feet wide, there was a seam down the middle. By doing LVT, it eliminates that seam. So it's one more thing that makes it look and feel as much like a regular house as possible, and hide the fact that it is in fact a manufactured home.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that okay?
And they're ready to install as soon as Monday.
Okay, so I ask for a motion to approve procuring flooring for 139 Maxwell Ave.
So moved.
So Jonathan, second?
Second.
Second, Oceana, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Sell 424 Bishop to Angela Gunn instead of Walden.
This is
Yes.
some housekeeping. You approved previously selling this side lot to Walter Gunn. He lives next door. In the meantime, he deeded his house to his daughter, Angela, and he retains life use. And they have to be in the same name in order to be merged when we go to do the re-subdivision. And the life use issue is making things a little bit more complicated as well. So we're actually proposing to sell it without a re-subdivision at this point to Angela. She will own both, but we can't deed him, or we can't deed her the lot and give him life use. So the only other option would be for them to take that off of the house, merge them, and then put it back on. And that's going to incur legal fees for very little purpose. So we're proposing just to sell it to her as is. She'll keep them separate, pay 2 tax bills, and eventually, after her father passes, she will be able to merge the 2 parcels down the road. And we'll provide her with assistance whenever she's ready to do that.
Is this some sort of intricate legal thing that she can't
Have we
merge it?
confirmed that we can't deed it to her if the board chooses? Has that been confirmed?
Well, we are deeding it to her. That's what we're proposing right now.
Okay, sorry, but his life use has to be extinguished on the other lot, is that been
Well, that's what Ginny told us.
We're not merging them.
understood for this?
Yeah,
He said no.
Yeah.
that's the weird part. Like, what does it matter?
They have,
I know that to be a lot.
would the assessor accept that?
Yes, did anybody confirm that? Because we dealt with this once.
I talked to Ginny about it.
That's
But we
all.
don't know if the assessor would accept if it's Angela Gunn on
Yeah,
one.
he just wouldn't have a life use to that additional parcel.
Right,
Or would they combine it is the question. Maybe
Right.
Ginny confirmed it, I did not.
We're not combining. They're going
I
to combine it after he dies.
We should ask that question. So
Yeah,
we should deed it to Angela Gunn no matter what. And if the assessor will allow us to merge them,
Yeah.
let's do it. But if not, then
Yeah.
we'll have to keep
I
it.
can
is the
understand.
assessor, our assessor here in the city of Syracuse that,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Should
And
have a
when
conversation.
you have a life use, typically the tax bill would be in his name. And so it makes sense to me that they would not, but I just wanted, I didn't confirm that and I don't know if Ginny did.
No, I didn't. I don't know if Jenny did either, but I didn't talk to the assessor. I only talked to Jenny. So, yeah, we'll check on that. We certainly need to deed it to Angela. And if we can merge them, we will. And if we can't, we won't.
Okay, so we're all set to vote on this
As
particular.
long as you're comfortable with it, we'll
Yeah,
follow up on that.
Follow up as much as
Yeah.
possible.
It's a good question.
It seems kind of silly.
It is goofy. I agree.
Well, we're used to this stuff. So, okay,
I've just accepted a level of goofy.
Apparently I have not. I still have some growing to do.
Yeah.
after 51 years with the city, I accept everything, especially what lawyers say, and people know what they're talking about. So, sell 424 Bishop to Angela Gunn instead of Walter Gunn. I entertain a motion.
So moved.
So, Jonathan, second.
Second.
Oceana, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. E, sell 516 Portland Avenue to Sin Taja Wallace under the tenant homeowner program.
I'm pretty excited about this one. When this house was foreclosed on, Sintaj's grandfather owned it, and he was living on the ground floor and she was living upstairs. He has since passed away, but for the past 3 years, she's been paying us rent up until he passed. He was paying us rent. And we don't generally sell it right back to the former owner that was just foreclosed on unless they have some extenuating circumstances, and he wasn't in a financial position to buy it back anyway. But she has always said from the very beginning, she would very much like to keep it in her family. She was pre-approved early on for a mortgage, but the logistics of doing it as a construction loan and her having to finance the repairs out of that was just too difficult. She was going through Empower. They weren't willing to do those kinds of loans. So we said, well, why don't we just do the renovations and then roll that into the purchase price, and that'll make it easier for her from the financing perspective. So the exterior siding and windows have been covered by the county lead program. And then on the interior, we did new furnaces. I believe we did new water heaters, gutted the kitchens and bathrooms, and added laundry hookups in the upstairs kitchen. Just a lot of stuff that had been so dated over time. It really needed the upgrades. The house is much more comfortable now. We did some plaster and sheetrock repair, and those stairwells in two-family houses, they get really dinged up over the years with people bringing furniture in and out. So a lot of that needed repair, but it looks great now. And we're proposing to sell it to her for the amount we invested in the renovations, which is just over $84,000. And it'll keep this house in her family and avoid displacing her. She lives upstairs.
Were the county lead funds, HUD funds, or were they through home headquarters?
I believe they were HUD.
Because with HUD, she's gonna get saddled with that. They don't grandfather, even if she's otherwise qualified, you don't get grandfathered into the program. So that was the reason why when you guys did my house, we had to take ownership first. Because if not, we had to repay HUD those funds.
When we sell, we're gonna be, that'll
can-
trigger.
Yes, so we
Okay.
need to check and make sure she's not gonna get saddled with those.
Okay. Yeah. It didn't even occur to me because they never told us that they wanted to try to recoup the funds from us. So that's
It's how the program works.
Okay.
It was the whole reason why they made us wait.
gotcha.
And not have you guys do the repairs when we were going through the purchase process,
Okay.
because they don't grandfather the new homeowner, even if they're qualified,
Okay.
into the lien forgiveness. You have to repay it as part of your mortgage.
Okay. I will find out about that.
What's
So
the
we should
repayment
list-
period? Like how long does that apply?
It goes right into your new mortgage, like they're demanding you repay that.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
what I'm asking is,
So
does that happen if she buys it this year, next year, 10 years from now? Like how long is that?
it's like a 5-year period before it's forgiven, which that would be crazy to make her wait.
Right.
Yeah,
But I know there was a big to-do about it, was the reason we had to wait to buy the house. Like, we had to put internal
Yeah.
controls in place, and we
Right.
had to wait until we took ownership before we could use HUD funds. Now, if it's the program through home headquarters, that comes through state DOH, and that's different,
Okay.
and it would be forgiven.
I assumed it was HUD because it was managed by the county's program. Do they access those home headquarters funds?
They can, so
Okay.
we just need to check and see
Okay.
how he decided to pay for it.
Okay.
Hopefully, if it was just windows and doors, it went through home headquarters.
They did siding too.
Might be through HUD, so we just need to make sure. I just don't want to see her get
Yeah,
her
she
house
shouldn't
and
get-
then
Yeah.
suddenly get a $27,000 bill. from
Right.
the government.
Absolutely.
Would-
I'll look into that. Would you guys be willing to vote today contingent upon
Contingent on.
that issue being resolved?
the other thing that I was wondering, if that is a expense, would we discount the price so that she could use that money to pay it instead of having,
I'd be fine with that.
I think we all would.
We would normally have, if I had realized that this was going to be an issue, we would probably have used LBI funds to do it. We used unrestricted funds, but at the end of the day, I'd be willing to eat that cost. So that should be our backup plan, I guess.
I would,
So predicated on what we find out regarding the HUD money, I'll still entertain a motion to sell this.
So sell for the price listed here, unless she's liable, in which case we'll give her a credit of whatever amount to cover the county lead funds.
Is that okay with the board?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to approve that then.
So moved.
She had a second?
second.
Second, Jonathan, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Discussion, lead water service.
Before you go into the discussion, can I come back to 424 Bishop for a
Mhm,
second?
yes.
I don't think it requires any action, but another possibility would be, since you've already approved the father to buy and now the daughter, I don't see why we couldn't deed a life use to the father of this parcel and a remainder interest to the daughter. That would be another legal way to address the concern. That might allow a combination.
Ginny said to me, you can't grant life use of a vacant lot accusation.
Let me take that up with
Okay.
her. Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, but just another
Okay.
possibility to accomplish what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You want that combined ideally, right?
yes,
Yes.
if possible, yeah.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Noting that, discussion lead and water service line replacement.
So we have a whole bunch of different ways that we interact with the water department through the life of a property, and I met with the water commissioner recently to discuss those. One thing that came to my attention was that they have a map of the whole city, showing which water lines are lead and which are not, and then a whole bunch that are unknown. And one simple thing that we can and should be doing is when we do our intake evaluations to note what is the material, and if it's unknown on their map, we can upload those photos and they can start filling in some of the gaps. So we're happy to provide them with that information. He also informed me that our homeowners are not mandated to replace their lead service lines. We've had some issues over the years where some people, when they go to turn their service back on, are told that they must replace their lead service lines before the water department will turn their service back on, but not all of our buyers. And so the inconsistency has bothered me. And he assured me that that is not a mandate. If they are being told that they have to replace them, it would be for some other reason, that there might be a leak on the private side or something like that. So I'm going to stay on top of that, but it was good to clarify that it's not legally required. Since it is not legally required, we want to provide these buyers with some education about lead service lines, and Oceana's provided me with some resources that we'll provide at closing, educating them about, if there is a lead service line, here's what you should know, particularly if you have small children. So that'll at least put them in a position where they're more knowledgeable. And then the city is now federally mandated to replace these lead service lines at some point. So the question is, how long is it going to take them to get through? When he and I spoke, he made it sound like it was going to be at least 10 years for them to replace all these lines. And my initial thought when I went there was, why am I going to make my buyers pay for this? If the city's mandated to do it, we should just let the city pay for it. And then when he said it could take so long, I thought, well, I don't want people to wait for 10 years to get their lines replaced. But go ahead and chime in, Oceana.
There's no reason it should take us that long.
Yeah.
We had twice as many lines and replaced them twice as fast. We just need to stop having a concept of a plan and have a comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
And follow the folks who went before us. And there's at least 5 cities who've done this before us in half the time. So we're working with the city on that.
Okay.
You're
Optimistic that it'll be quicker than,
I don't go by that easy, so.
okay.
They just go down through your street.
And guess who wasn't on the list?
Yeah, they accidentally left Oceana's house
My
off the
list said
list.
the line is still fully intact at my house.
Jeez.
They're coming back, right?
They're supposed to. The city waters out and remark my water line now, waiting on National Grid to remark my gas line. But mine is still intact, so this is the reason why we want a comprehensive plan that includes having an organization like mine come in the week before city water or their contractors arrive. We knock all the doors, we make sure nobody is missed because we have those unknown lines, so that we get everybody replaced at once and we're not holding up folks on the street twice, because now my neighbors will be inconvenienced again when they make it back to my house.
Right.
I have spoken to JJ Lane, and Pat, maybe you can help with this. We need the water department for land bank houses, they should be calling you guys. If they're a construction candidate, obviously we don't need to replace the line.
But demolition candidate.
Yeah, demolition candidate. But if we plan to flip them or sell them, those lines should be included. So far, those lines are being missed because the contractors didn't know who they were supposed to contact, even though there's a number on the side of the house. So I said, please call that number. And somebody will come and let you in and have you replace the line. So we need to make sure that the contractors are calling. The contractors also want to call us because they don't get paid if they don't replace that line.
Yeah.
So
So the idea is to prioritize our land bank houses, obviously, right?
Well, if
I
they're
mean,
doing
if they
that
could.
street, certainly don't skip our houses.
Well, I think, I don't know if they got the bandwidth to do that or not, but they should have it. I mean, we're actually putting houses back in the
Well,
tax
if
revenue.
they see a land bank sign, they should call.
They
our
should just
office.
call
That's
while
what
you're there.
National Grid does. They call me, and asked me if it's a demolition or if they need to, because they're putting the gas meters on the outside of the houses. So they'll call me to come and meet them.
Right.
And if it's a demolition, obviously I'll tell them to cut the line, but they should do the same with the
Same,
water.
same for the water.
Yeah.
So I know there's 3 contractors. I've only spoken to the foreman of JJ Lane because
Okay.
that's what's in my neighborhood. But the other contractors also need to be calling so that we're not inconveniencing the
Yeah.
neighbors again to send them back out. 'Cause
Shut down the whole
right now they've
street with
skipped all
water.
of Webster.
Yeah.
All the houses that we have on Webster, whatever's left there, they've skipped all of those.
Okay.
One possibility to consider as well is make this an option for owner occupant buyers. But investors that are going to be purchasing from the land bank for rentals, we could require it for investors. That way it happens a lot sooner, even though the city is supposed to be going through.
No investor's gonna pay $14,000 to have that line
It's
replaced.
not 14,000, I got a price from.
But yeah,
Walmart.
this is
It's about
what,
six.
this is what the city's quoting. So they're not gonna pay that money to have it replaced when the government is requiring the city to do so. All municipalities are gonna be required across the US. So,
Even if they're getting a house for $1,000.
I get it, I get it.
Yeah, and I thought the cost was closer to 4,
Good.
which seemed, I don't feel as bad about imposing that on a buyer, but 14 is,
The cost is more when you are looking, so when they're looking at doing a block, the cost obviously goes down. We're opening them all up at once. The
But they
cost
also
goes
have to
up
pay
when you're
state
doing
rate
an
too,
individual,
so it's
yeah,
not
when you're
much.
doing an individual house, the cost goes up. Most folks aren't gonna pay it. It's the reason why it hasn't been done this far, or why they allowed, when Weiner was in office, to come in and cut the public side and not do the private side, because landlords said we're not gonna pay it.
yeah. They did say one positive thing, that if our buyers opt to do the private side, they will come in and do the public side at no cost to the buyer. So at least,
That's how it worked, that's how it worked when I did mine.
I was gonna say, if they're gonna be there, just do it.
right,
If you're gonna be there, just do it. There's no need to, because when you cut the line, you put the family in much higher danger over the next 6 months. So we don't wanna be cutting half lines, we wanna do the whole thing.
Quick question. I hear any demos coming down, obviously, they're not, the lines are not gonna be replaced. But, any vacant buildable lots in residential zones, is there any priority with that or no?
there are no lines to the lots.
Got it.
So if somebody's gonna build there, they're gonna have to put in a brand new one anyway.
Okay.
So this addresses the properties that are in an area that is already being sort of slated for replacement. What about the places that we sell that aren't currently in a
Right.
position to be done as part of this process?
That's kind of the open question here. So we know for sure we can get the city's contractor to do the ones, if they're doing the whole block, they'll do ours.
In January, everybody across the United States has to do it.
Every local government.
Every local government, so no one should be in an area where they're not getting their lead service lines replaced. And it's a matter of when they're going to do them, but everyone has to do it.
Well, I think the question is operationally, how do you want to approach this?
Well, I didn't realize there were 3 contractors either, so I need to get in touch with those other 2. And we'll certainly make sure that as they're doing an entire street, they don't skip our houses. But when we sell a fixer-upper to a private buyer, are we gonna tell them, the city's gonna come eventually, just wait, and in the meantime, use a filter? Or,
Pretty much what everybody else is, that's what we're doing for everybody else. They just need to be aware, they need to use a filter in the meantime, we all should be using a filter in the meantime. And you're on the list, make sure your pipe is reported, although that didn't help me. But make sure they have your
Yeah.
line.
So they thought yours was not lead, is that what happened?
Mine is marked as unknown, so somehow I did not make the list. The contractor was amazed because he knew who I was. He's like, oh, you're the lady from the news. You're the reason we have so much water.
Oceana, who's the point person for the water department to deal with all these kinds of issues?
Brant right now until, Brant,
the commissioner.
The
commissioner
does it
is-
personal?
he has been, I wish he would take help. I'd like him to take help. I know the mayor has put a engineer on the budget line that she sent to you guys, and that's really what we need is a water engineer taking care of this. So hopefully that line will stay and we can hire someone that handles these logistics.
Well, I thought our conversation was really productive, so I'll circle back with him and get the contact information for those other two contractors.
Yeah, they should definitely be calling you, and he didn't tell me that the first day when he came back the second day to say, we're really working on getting back to you. That's when he asked about the land bank houses. I'm like, you should absolutely be doing all of the houses on the street.
Yeah,
Unless they're going to be torn down, and in which case they'll let you know that.
yeah. And you're right, the phone number's right there.
It's right on site house. It's right there. Can't miss it.
Maybe, okay, we'll talk. I'm glad,
I
Yeah.
think that it's great that there's a idea that this is gonna start to happen in January and everybody's gonna be required to do it, but from my perspective, getting lead out of the water and people are drinking, the quicker the better. And so if there's another path that we could look at to address for our buyers to get this taken care of as soon as possible, I think we have the ability to do that. I don't know why we wouldn't consider doing that.
You said something about could we get them to prioritize
well,
all
that would make sense.
land bank houses, which seems inefficient to have them bouncing around, but
If they're prioritizing land bank houses though, from a community perspective,
They're skipping-
who are we not prioritizing?
they're skipping the occupied
And those are
houses,
those
yeah.
houses that have children with high EBLs now.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm not saying that that's the path. I'm
Right.
saying, is there another way that, we could either require our buyers to do this, provide some funding for them to do this? Like, that's like, have multiple prongs in this, not just the
I mean, legally, we would be within our rights to include it in the development enforcement mortgage if we wanted to. Then buyers could decide if they think that that's a bridge too far and they don't want to buy from the land bank, that's their choice. We could use LBI dollars to assist owner occupants so that they don't have to bear the cost out of pocket. That's the only thing that I really have access to right now. There's also this mystery $500,000 that was in the budget way back when Gillespie was in office that keeps on circulating around. Yeah, that
Is
was,
it under mystery in the budget or what?
it was supposed to be for land banks to address lead hazards. And at the time, pipes weren't even on my radar. I was
Right.
thinking about paint.
Right.
But it was in the budget for the DEC. And the DEC tells me that they kicked it over to HCR. HCR doesn't know where the money is. And that so many years have gone by, I'm worried that it's going to disappear at some point. But I'm continuing to harass them about, where is this? And if we somehow get access to it, we would use that before we would use LBI.
And that would be so helpful. So we
Yeah.
would address both lead paint and lead and water, and
Right,
we won't have a situation like what we just talked about with the other buyers.
exactly.
So is that 500 for all land banks?
Yeah, it's not going to go.
Yeah, it's not gonna go far, but if you can, even if we took this house for this young lady and put in interim controls, and then she applied herself for the HUD funding, which is what I did, is more helpful than her getting HUD funding through you guys and then all of a sudden getting a bill.
Right.
So Oceana, you said that they don't prioritize homes where are occupied where kids have high lead content? They don't prioritize those?
They are supposed to. Right now, we just keep getting told, we're working on a plan. So there's no comprehensive plan. Right now, the way they're doing it, the best way to describe it is like whack-a-mole. That is how it is happening. I know there's a lot of fuss, but I understand they did some work on those pump stations. So all of the Upper University were getting theirs done over by like Stockholm Terrace and stuff. And of course, people on the south side and the west side are like, wait a minute, our kids are poisoned. These guys can put their own lines in. Why is that happening? And it's hard to explain to the community. Well, they were doing the pump stations, so they were right there, and that's why they did these guys first. But it kind of needs to happen simultaneously. So we need a water engineer who understands that.
It doesn't, I don't know, I understand it, I'm not an engineer.
Right, I get it too.
If we were willing and able to use LBI dollars, would you be inclined to start including this in our development enforcement mortgages?
Yes.
You can, I would certainly reach out though. There is funds that we're working to help Sharon access. So.
Okay.
And we're gonna keep working on to help her access.
Well, if you were gonna do it on your own, you maybe get a quote more along the lines of 6,000 per house versus what the city is paying. Is that-
Well, the city's paying less because when they do them all together, they're paying less.
Yeah.
But we've had individuals come and say, I can't do this. This is what they're
Yeah.
holding me to
Right.
do this.
That quote is crazy.
When we
It
did,
is.
I did 2 houses for less than that.
Yeah.
But you have the ability to do your own procurement.
yeah,
And a lot
You're gonna
of
make
these
this-
guys, a lot of these guys in January are gonna say, why should I come to your individual house when I'm getting these municipal contracts and I can
Right.
take all my guys this way?
so maybe better
So
for us
that's,
to get a
that's
bulk
the other
contract.
thing that's
Yeah.
driving up the cost for individuals now who are trying to get quotes. It's because a lot of these guys are on municipal contracts.
And when we say it only cost us 4,000 for Warner, that is partly because we were only doing the private side. If the city's doing both, of course, they're paying more than that.
And we don't ever want to cut the line in half. Just don't want to do it. It's more harmful over the next 6 months for that family.
So I think certainly in the meantime, we should be providing all these educational materials, and maybe we have some more research to do. And we'll come back to you guys next
You
month
can
with what.
always refer buyers or families to us.
Okay.
I can even come in if we need to educate the land bank staff who have to talk to families. I can come in and do that.
Okay. Does that sound good, Jonathan? We'll come back with some more information next month.
Yes, thank you.
All right,
Okay,
thank you, guys.
let's go on to move in, pace foreclosures.
Just wanted to let you guys know, one property did get pulled from our April closing, so we got a total of 10 foreclosures in April. And I'm continuing to agitate and be a pest about this, so hopefully we can get the city to increase us to an average of at least 20 a month. We did, at our budget hearing last week in front of the Common Council, really emphasize the importance of this, and it seemed like they maybe had an appetite to fund a full-time attorney position in the law department focused exclusively on this. So if we can achieve that, I think it'll make a world of difference. And I'm going to continue to advocate with the counselors. It's budget season now. If any of you would also like to reach out to your counselors and let them know how important this would be. And I emphasize, I know you guys are trying to cut the budget right now, not add to it, but this position would pay for itself. The city has collected about $30 million more above historical levels than they did before the land bank existed, and they've given us 12, so they're net 18 to the positive. Having an attorney that's more aggressively going after tax delinquent properties means a whole bunch of people are going to come in and pay to avoid foreclosure, and they will recoup that cost.
Priorities.
Yeah.
Okay, and any questions on that? Okay, move in New York application approved by HCR.
Yes, we have good news that HCR voted a few weeks ago to approve our application for funding for the Move in New York houses. They will be funding 52 single-family homes. We're currently negotiating with those two manufacturers that HCR selected, Champion and Clayton, about the specific prices, but I'm ballpark estimating that with hard costs and our soft costs, it should be about $312,000 per house to get these developed. And they want us to serve a broad range of incomes for buyers, everything from 60% up to 120% of AMI. So we would back into what would their purchase price be based on how much can they afford monthly to cover in housing expenses. We can't let them pay more than 30% of their gross monthly income towards mortgage, insurance, taxes, and utilities. So we're backing into what their purchase price should be based on their income. But I'm also trying to make sure that we book these sales as close to fair market value as possible. So the contract price might be $250, but the buyer might pay $175 if that's what they can afford. So John and I are working on language to put in the contract saying that the land bank is making a grant to cover the difference, and that would be covered using the Move in New York funds. And the reason I want to push those contract prices up as high as we can is so that when they get booked with the county clerk, they help increase comps for the whole neighborhood. And we are emphasizing that to neighboring homeowners that this is a good thing. It's not only going to beautify your neighborhood and bring you new neighbors that are owner occupants, but it will also help increase your property values and increase the amount of equity you have in your home. They are all 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses. We are working on the little tweaks to the floor plan that we discussed. And I'm optimistic that we can be under contract with them in early May and get our building permits in and have shovels in the ground by the end of June. Champion thinks they can do a house every other week, and Clayton thinks they can finish one a week. we're having a little bit of back and forth with Clayton about their prices being a bit higher. But even if I do have to shuffle some more over to Champion, I think we can get them all done by September of 2027. And if it goes well, of course, I'm hoping that we will then go back and apply for more and that we'll just kind of keep this going on a rolling basis. And I'm also talking to Champion about the fact that I need them to design me a better house that'll fit on a narrower lot. Right now, the only floor plan they have that we really like needs at least a 48-foot lot. Maybe we can squeeze it down to 44 if we eliminate the side door. But I said, I have tons of 40-foot lots, and I need you to shrink that eminence down a few feet narrower. So they are planning to do that in anticipation that we'll apply for more Move-in New York funds in the future.
Are we the only community in New York State who has the constraints of the 40-foot lot, or is this like, it would be helpful if we could say us and
Yeah.
insert X number of other.
That's an
landmarks?
excellent point.
That's
I
a great
think that that is a universal problem. I'll emphasize that with them. Last week, knowing that we were approved by HCR, we held a in-person meeting at the Inspire Center for potential buyers to talk to them about the process of purchasing. And then the following week, we did a Zoom-only version. We recorded that and have updated it to our YouTube page. And if you go to our homepage now, there's a button right in the very front that says Move in New York Homes. That'll take you to a page with all the information about this program. You can see the video there, download the application, get the list of sites. So we have every address that we're planning to build on, what model is going there, and a rough estimate of when we think it'll be done. And last week on the 16th, we opened up our waiting list. So buyers are coming in with applications now. We are checking to see that they are income qualified. So we're looking at their tax returns and their 2 months of pay stubs to see which of those 4 bins do they fall into, 60, 80, 100, or 120% of AMI. If they pass that threshold, we're looking to see that they have a pre-approval for a mortgage, and then doing the math to see what would their monthly payment be. Is it less than 30% of their gross monthly income? Once we check all those boxes, they're eligible to bring in a $500 deposit and reserve which of those 52 sites they want. It's kind of first come, first serve to get your deposit in and make that reservation. And so each subsequent person is choosing from the options that are remaining. A number of these will be fully ADA compliant, but since we haven't put the order in yet, we don't know which ones those are going to be. So we're at a position now where if a buyer gets in early and we know that they need an ADA compliant house, we can make sure that it goes at that address. They will all have detached 1-car garages, except for 2 on Monticello where the lots are really weird, and they're going to have attached garages, but so do a lot of the houses on that block, so it won't look weird.
And that's possible with the constraints around manufactured houses?
They build the attached garage on site.
No, but I'm saying, like, by attaching the garage to the house, does this void any warranties or any of those sorts of things?
No, not at all, because it's being done by the same company that built the house in the factory. There are just certain components that can only be done on site, like when they do the roof assembly, and they consider it like that.
Okay.
Yep.
And the waiting list that we have, that you're putting together for people who are, hey, I want this one on whatever street, is that then going to be how the order of installation goes? We're going to work down the waiting list, or is it going to be a little bit more of a random?
It's really based on which sites are ready to go first. So there's a handful where we're still working on resubs that I've pushed to the bottom of the list because I don't know when we're going to be ready to put building permits in for those. We're starting with the ones that are in pretty easy flat locations.
Is that being communicated to people so that they know, hey, I want this one, but it's going to be problematic, and so there might be waiting a really long time, and
Yeah.
so that they're not out in front of this saying, hey, the land bank promised me a house and I've been waiting for 10 months.
Yeah, so the sheet they're going to look at when they pick which site they want has the address, the model, and the estimated completion date. So some of them say September 27, and some of them will be done as soon as this September. Shovels in the ground in June, I think, would mean that we would have our first house done in August, but I'm trying to give myself a little bit of buffer room to under promise and over deliver, so I'm
Yes,
saying
please.
September.
Thank you.
Make sure the district councilors are aware.
Yes, yeah, we've shared all this with the counselors when we were going to give our annual report and everything.
Especially when the ground, when the shovels in the ground.
Yes.
They'll get calls from neighbors, saying, what's going in there?
Yes, absolutely. But so far, so good. I was hoping that we would have materials ready today for you guys to vote for us to enter into the contract with HCR and these two housing manufacturers, but we don't have all those details figured out yet. In order to keep things moving quickly, I may want to ask you to come back later this month for a special meeting rather than waiting until our May meeting to approve those contracts. So I will keep you posted.
Sure. Okay.
Anything else we should be covering with these? Daniel and Jamila have really been in the trenches with all these potential buyers.
I think that covers it.
Okay. It's
In
been
the
really-
trenches, you guys been in the trenches, doing the water lines too, and the lead lines and everything else? Yeah, I'll tell you, that's outstanding work.
It's been really exciting to see people coming into the office with their deposit already and
Yes.
super excited about the house that they're going to be able to buy. And it's pretty cool.
So how long is the waiting list at this point?
How many people do we have on the list?
10 on the waiting list, and more than that on the interest list.
We have 2 lists. So there's an interest list when people call in and we take their preliminary information, tell them what they need to do, send them to the website. They get bumped up to the waiting list when they bring all of that information back, and then they give us a deposit and they're able to select their homes.
So you think there's about 10 that have gotten to that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
What's that?
I've been spreading the word.
Oh, good, good.
Young folks. Wait for you, because you will never swing a hammer.
And they're great for people with mobility issues that need single-story living. We've had quite a few referrals from Covenant Housing. They specialize in helping people retrofit their homes to make them accessible. But if they can find people one that's already accessible, they're very excited about that. And they potentially come with extra grant funding they have from State Home. So I think it's good. We've gotten the word out through Covenant and through the Housing Authority. The Housing Authority has a ton of people that are already eligible to use their vouchers to buy instead of rent. So I think we have a few of those on the list.
We definitely have one.
Okay.
We'll also be presenting at Surface Housing Authority at their resident meeting, I think this Thursday.
Okay.
Is today Tuesday? I think Thursday will be there.
How are we, if someone needs a unit to be accessible, how are we overcoming are we putting in ramps? Like grade change is
There-
significant on these.
There will likely be a ramp. The one that you saw on Maxwell was elevated. How big are one of those CMU blocks? 10 inches? So it's about 30 inches high. We did 3 blocks skirt around it. Daniel and I talked about if we flag ones now that are going to be ADA accessible, we could drop them down to 2 blocks. And that significantly shortens the length of the ramp.
Yeah.
So we are trying to plan for that. We will build a ramp, but I don't want it to be taking up the whole lot, zigzagging. So we're going to try to drop them down a little.
If they're all intended to be ADA compliant, why wouldn't you do that on all of them?
Well, they're not all intended to be completely ADA compliant. So we're trying to do the wider doors and everything to make it easy for somebody to retrofit in the future if they needed to. Some people will use a walker, but they don't necessarily need a ramp. And the state grant requires that a certain percentage of them have to be ADA, but not all 52. But are you thinking that we ought to do,
I mean, if you're gonna
drop them all down
kind of
lower?
roll the dice and say, maybe this one will eventually be,
Right.
make them all,
But if you put it too low, you still need access underneath. The
Okay.
water lines underneath, you still need
Yeah.
access underneath. And there's a steel frame underneath that, so.
Yeah,
so there's complications with lowering it.
Too low.
yeah.
Right, but if is the going from 30 inches to 20 inches too low?
How skinny is the guy working on the pipes?
So I'm crawling underneath. Maybe somebody bigger than me is not.
Yeah.
Every house is built on the foundation and then that one house
Yeah.
is gonna stick out.
So we're all set with the planning commission and all this stuff.
Almost all of them have been approved by the planning commission. There's a handful where we still have to go for the re-subdivisions, but I don't expect any objections.
Because I had trouble with handicap ramps for a while. So
That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Well, if you're coming to do a retrofit after the fact and your ramp is in the front yard, sometimes the planning commission gives you problems. But if we're doing this as part of the initial design, I don't intend for them to be in the front yard anyway. So I think we can make it work. Yeah. But I was just referred yesterday of a house that has nothing to do with this program, but the city just took away all the parking on the street parking on Burnett Ave. And this gentleman is handicapped and he's always parked right in front of his house. But there's also 2 huge flights of stairs up the hill to his house. And now he doesn't have anywhere to park and doesn't have a driveway because of this hill. So I was over there looking at what could we do to maybe help. And I called him back and I said, how would this gentleman like to buy a cross mod house? Because have I got a house for you? 2 blocks away. And maybe he wants to sell this one on the hill. So, right.
Wash it all out.
Exactly. This isn't going to work. Yeah, yeah.
We'll just trade it. We'll take yours. We'll give you
Yeah.
this one. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I went over there and looked at it. I said, well, you could put a driveway here, but it's probably going to cost you 30 grand just to put in a driveway because extensive retaining walls and all kinds of engineering to make it work. And so that's that.
Okay.
But things are going well and we're excited about it. And the public seems to be excited
Great
about it too.
job. Great job.
And one last item before we adjourn. I did just want to note that this is Terry Luckett's last board meeting. She is retiring at the end of the month and has been here with the Land Bank for nearly 9 years. And I wanted to share a little bit of information about that. Terry started with us in September of 2017 and has been our neighborhood planner all this time, managing all the transactions of properties coming in and properties going out and all of our applications to the Planning Commission and environmental reviews for all the demolitions that we've done. So I started pulling some stats together and I was a little overwhelmed to see that since Terry has joined us, we have acquired 1,000 properties. We've sold just over 1,000 properties, including 320 side lots, and she does all the side lots. She's completed nearly 400 re-subdivisions, which is mind-boggling. At least 26 use variances and 7 area variances, but we don't keep really tight track of those, but that's a pretty big hurdle as well. And we've demolished 530 structures, and she's done all of the legwork on utility kills and condemnation letters for those.
Raise.
I don't see how can we let you retire?
I know. And she worked with A Tiny Home for Good to get us a grant from the Community Foundation to design 4 modular floor plans that are now the template that we're using for a project with Jubilee Homes on the near west side to build 35 new homes over there, and did all the resubs to make those building sites possible. So Terry is definitely leaving a big stamp and legacy here at the Land Bank. And keep in mind, before she was here, she worked for 9 years for Home Headquarters, doing a lot of similar work. So you certainly put your stamp on Syracuse, and we're very grateful.
We appreciate all your hard work and your faith in the city too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quite the legacy.
Okay.
Okay, so motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So okay, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Do we need to?
Congratulations.
Yes. Do you mind signing that and passing it down? Sorry.
Try to go with it.
Also a reminder that at 10:15, Pat and I will be over at the county legislature delivering our annual report to the county legislature if anybody's interested. Thank you. And I think I probably have some resolutions from last month that I'm going to send you, John.